but that spirit came back, or demonic spirit, from the closet. And I noticed because my dog would start waking me up growling every night at my feet, and my bed started shaking a lot. And then one night I was awoken because I thought actually my son was trying to get my attention, and something put its hands around my ankle.
Hello? Something just ran in front of us down the road. We're in the ditch. We rolled over. There's two of us. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was big. It looked like a great big dog. Standing up.
Hello? The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos occurring to show UFOs flying through the air are real.
Just a globe of orange light that started just doing crazy moves.
You're looking through the window now and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me. He's a big, real big person.
They're extra-dimensional beings. They are not what they claim to be.
Welcome to the EERIE Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Miguel. If you've had any encounters or strange events happen to you in your life, or if you know anybody who's had some sort of strange paranormal thing happen to them, and you would like to get a hold of me, you can do that by emailing me at EERIEParanormalTalk@gmail.com. That's EERIEParanormalTalk@gmail.com. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me, and I'll try my hardest to get back to you as fast as I can. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that post notification bell so that way anytime a new episode airs, you'll get notifications for it. Now let's get into these mind-bending, terrifying experiences. Okay, on this segment we have Lynn, and Lynn's going to bring us into her world of her paranormal life. And she's got some very interesting things that happened to her, so let's get into it. Lynn, go ahead and give us a little background on the area that we're going to be listening about.
Okay, I currently live in Michigan in Macomb Township. I live near the country and about 8 miles from the Octagon House, which is well known for the Underground Railroad, where they helped the slaves escape from the South. So I live in an area which is a small village that is known for Freemasons and old Victorian homes. We have our own haunted walkthroughs in October, and I've had to move probably about 8 times in the last few years. Probably, I'd say every 2 years to a year and a half I've had to move just because of the hauntings in my houses.
Wow.
Yeah. I would say it started really young, though. I've always been very in tune with supernatural. My mom's house was always had a lot of high activity, different orbs flying around. You would catch them out the corner of your eye. A lot of windows and cupboards opening and closing, and my parents never believed me when I was growing up. Finally, at one point, my parents were sitting in the living room, and we had a piece of driftwood that was on our TV, right on top of the TV that I got from the lake. And he was discussing how I'm making things up and none of that's real. He was one of those people that wanted to debunk everything. So we were watching the football game, and that piece of driftwood came straight out. Mind you, the TV was sitting up about 7 feet high, and it came straight out and glided about 12 to 13 feet and dropped right in front of my dad's feet. And I said, see, I'm not a liar. And he's like, he never said anything again. So after I moved out, I moved into different houses, but it kind of felt like, I don't know if you'd call it like a spirit magnet. I just felt like everywhere I went, they would go. So I felt like I always had to move. The last few years, I lived across the street from the Octagon House. And in that house, there was a lot of different activity I would hear in the attic. Every night, I always heard a guitar playing and someone singing. And it wasn't really scary. It was just very loud. And I felt like no one else could hear it because everyone would always be asleep. And I'm like, I am not making this up. I'd be sitting in the living room, and I kind of called it like a traffic way. Like, I feel like there was a lot of spirits, like, walking right through my living room. Like, it was an exit, because I would see all different sizes of shadows that would walk through. And it didn't bother me too much. There was nothing that I felt very, very threatening about. When I decided to finally move, I was getting some of the last boxes to load up into the car before I left. And I looked out the front window, and there was a young girl that looked like she was from like the 1900s. And she was a young girl too. She was probably about 5. And she was wearing like a blue dress, baby blue, with a blue bonnet. And she looked extremely sad. And it was like a sadness came over me. Like, I don't know, like, in a sense, it felt like she was sad to see me go. And then she just, like, disappeared. And then I had to take a double look, and I'm like, okay. And I just grabbed my boxes and loaded up the car, and I left. And the next house I ended up moving into, I had no idea of the high activity there, because the house was actually vacant for, like, a year. I was sitting on 90 acres. And it was like 2,700 square foot house. So everything seemed pretty good for a while, about 6 months. And I noticed when I would go into the basement, I always felt like this uneasy feeling, like something was always watching me. But it was watching me from like 2 different directions, because the basement underneath, it was like a big L shape. And one corner I would always feel like someone's staring at me, and then the other side, I would get the real cold feeling, and my hair would stand up, and I was just like, I'd try to hurry up and do my laundry, or I'd have someone come down there with me, because I didn't want to be down there by myself. But so that was something that I felt like I could kind of ignore. And then as time went on, it was a 4-bedroom house. My youngest son was in his room, and he would be waking up a lot. And he said he always felt like someone was shaking his bed and staring at him, which was making him really uncomfortable. And he's noticed different things where we lived, like stuff happening to him. But this time he was kind of freaked out. So I decided that I would stay the night in his room with him and see what would happen. And I woke up to the bed actually being shaken. And I looked over at his closet and got the eeriest feeling, like a very unsettling feeling. So I got up, and he had a night light on, so I didn't really need a light. And I just could smell this dirty garbage smell. It's like I've noticed a lot with different spirits, that when they're really bad, they have a revolting, like hot garbage smell. So you know that it's something that you want to stay away from. And I got that odor. So I decided to call my aunt, because my uncle is actually a Catholic priest. And they came over to our house and did a blessing. And it took quite a while, because the house is really large. And she said I had like 7 to 8 spirits in there. And she tells them where to go after she does the blessing and with the sage. But she pulled me aside because she didn't want to scare my son. But the one that was actually in his closet, she said definitely was not from this world. It was like a very demonic spirit. And she was able to send it away, but she was unsure if she could keep it away, because she said that she wasn't strong enough, and that would something be more in the lines of, like, say, my uncle doing like a thing for poltergeist. So that freaked me out. So I moved my son into the other room, and then we decided that, you know, we might think about moving. A couple weeks later, Still no problem in the basement. All the other spirits were gone. But that spirit came back, or demonic spirit, from the closet. And I noticed because my dog would start waking me up, growling every night at my feet. And my bed started shaking a lot. And then one night I was awoken because I thought actually my son was trying to get my attention, and something put its hands around my ankle and squeezed really hard. It was like enough pressure that you would actually think that someone was trying to wake you up. And then I looked and there was nothing there. And then I just got a really sick feeling. And we ended up moving out of that place a few weeks later. And since then I've moved like every 2 years. I've already been in 3 apartments in the last 3 years due to it.
Wow. A few questions. Do you believe, now I've heard, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you believe that sometimes people can be haunted and not the place?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like I'm a magnet wherever I go. Since I was probably 11 years old, I have had nothing but spirits and alien encounters, and I think I might be a magnet for it because I'm so, like, my senses are so high, and it's like stuff you don't usually tell a lot of people about because then they'll look at you like you lost your mind. But yeah, and my mom said it runs in the family. Like a lot of them are really sensitive to the spirit world. So.
Now, you did mention that you would see shadows walking by your window. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Could you get a clear image of those? Could you describe some of those things?
And those spirits or those shadows, actually, no, I would just see different sizes, and a lot of them, it kind of threw me off, were actually quite small, like only a foot big. But you would see like a full like little shadow, but they would only be a foot big. And I was always like, that's weird. So I started looking more into that, and that's where they talk about the in-betweens and the different, supernatural world, like the in-between doors and windows. Right. In time, certain things come out.
Right. So when you were talking about, okay, do you believe that maybe sometimes these things are maybe stuck in a time loop and just kind of like experience the same thing over and over? Like, I don't know, maybe that's the definition of purgatory.
Yeah, like a repeated history.
Right.
Those spirits, I think, like you said, it is almost a sense of that, like, when you hear about the different Civil War acts and the guys are in the room and they got the guns and they're getting ready because of where our places were, there were soldiers set up and different things like in Indians, and I think that it's just not an actual haunting, it's just they are stuck in a loop. You know what I mean? And someone has to literally go in and do a blessing to try to release them so that they can go towards the light, so they're not stuck in this, unless they did something so bad that is their punishment, and that's what they need to do for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand, because that definitely does sound like a very, very horrible way to just live on infinity,
Yeah. They say too, with a lot of, if you had a really traumatic death and something horrible or horrific happened to you, a lot of times there will be a time loop.
No, thank you. I don't want to sign up for that one.
With the shadows, when you're asking if I ever saw anything, the only time I ever actually saw a face in a shadow is before I moved to that house. I was at a trailer when my son was younger, and the only time I ever saw the full apparition is it was about 9 feet tall. It was in my hallway. I was reading a book to my son. He was sitting on my lap, and I got this really weird feeling to look up, and I actually looked up, and it looked like a very pointy black hat. It was like a full, and it looked like the person was like 9 feet tall. They had a long black trench coat, and I couldn't see the face, but I only could see the eyes, which were like a bright yellow and red, and it let off like a really like creepy smile, which I couldn't see any facial structures. I only saw the smile. And it was just like a whole bunch of razor sharp teeth, and it seemed almost as if the smile got bigger. Like a good example, I guess, would be the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, when his smile gets really big. And yeah, when I saw that, I ended up putting the book down. I took my son, took him out of the house, took him to my mom's. I went straight to the church, and I got holy water. And I asked the priest what to do, and he gave me a blessing. And I went through, and I blessed all the windows and all the doorways. And then I never saw that apparition ever again.
My God.
Yeah.
Wow. So this shadow being, did it seem like he was maybe possibly wearing like a cloaked hood?
No, it was more of like, well, you couldn't see obviously like a full figure, but it looked like a trench coat with tall boots with a really big pointy hat. Like the hat wasn't pointy on top. It was like almost like a triangle, like around the sides of it was pointy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to somebody else who may be coming on. She witnessed something very similar, but it was more like if the person was wearing a hood that was pointy up towards the top.
Okay. Yeah, no, this was definitely two separate articles of clothing. It was like nothing. It almost reminded me of Spy versus Spy, the old cartoon where their hats were like that with the black trench coats. Mm-hmm. It's probably the best example I could give. It was in a sense like that.
Wow. 9 foot tall alone would have been enough for me to run out of the house.
Yeah, so, I didn't run. It was almost a sense of feeling paralyzed, which is not the best feeling because I don't like not being able to have control of but I was so in awe. Like I was thinking I'm tired. Maybe I'm seeing stuff, but I looked down at the book, try to keep reading and look at my son, and I look up and he's still there. So I knew it wasn't in my head.
So he obviously was trying to make sure that you did notice him.
Oh, absolutely.
Or it.
Yeah, that was probably the first time that I've ever had an apparition actually make it a point to like let me know that they're there. A lot of times I've seen quite a few in my life and they disappear quickly. Just like the girl from the Octagon house that was in the blue dress. So yeah, that guy, he hung around for at least a good 45 seconds to let me know that he was there.
So there's some apparitions that don't want to be seen and are kind of scared away when you do see them. And this one was obviously wanting you to see him. So maybe to paralyze you and frighten you enough to maybe feed off that energy. Maybe that's what was going on there.
I think he was trying to put fear into me, but I didn't feel it 100%. I think it's just because after time you become so used to visitations and seeing different things that you almost become numb to it. That it's like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't move because I was kind of, the teeth was a new thing that I've never seen. But I was just in my head like, I'm not going to let this scare me off. You're not going to scare me out of my house.
Gotcha.
And that was the first house I actually stayed at for at least 5 years before I moved out.
Wow. That would have been enough for me to leave the next day. So
can't let them scare us off.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a few questions before we got too deep into this because I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, like literally. So yeah, let's continue on from there after the that dark apparition.
Oh, okay. Well, from that house that I went into the Octagon house to the 90-acre house. And after that, I was just currently in an apartment, but I was only there for 2 months. I was told that there was a couple that lived there that were really abusive with each other, but nobody died or anything, but there was like a really bad energy in there where it came quickly too. It was almost intoxicating. My mom wouldn't come over to my house, and I just moved there. She said it always felt like someone was going to push her down the stairs. My cupboards, I'd wake up and they'd all be open in the morning, and I would shut them really quick before my kids would see them. But it's just like a constant feeling of someone standing behind me. So we only stayed there for 2 months, and I left and got transferred into another apartment right away. And I was in my just last apartment, and not a lot happened there for a long time. It was actually the first time that I was like, wow, it feels comfortable. But towards the end, again, of our lease, my son started having more experiences where he noticed that the fans would turn on in the radios when he was around, and he would call me in the room, and like his toys would be spinning in circles. I was sitting at my bed one day, and I was just going through some paperwork, and he was standing there, and he was just staring at the ground, and I asked him what was wrong, and he said that the dog toys were spinning in circles. So, and then he was quite freaked out for a little bit, so he ended up climbing in my bed. And after that, we've moved into my new townhouse, and just currently, last week, I took about 3 videos. I was trying to take a video of my dog, just, you know, regular dog owners being silly, taking photos and videos of our dogs. And after about 5 minutes, I realized that there was a whole bunch of orbs, like going throughout the video. So then I stopped messing with the dog, and I just concentrated and moved my camera around my bedroom and made the 3 separate videos for about 10 minutes. And there was multiple orbs. Some were different colors. I had orange ones. There was ones that were really bright white that almost looked like they had an iridescent rainbow look to them. And they just kept shooting through my feet and like all like around my head and by the bottom of my door. And it looked like I had a strobe light on. And it was not a bad feeling. It was almost comforting, which sounds weird, but I don't think it's anything bad. So far, you know, we've been here a few months. Hopefully we won't have to move right away.
So far, so good.
That's about it for right now.
Do you believe that maybe that after all these things that you've been through, maybe you're having some sort of a break from these things? Maybe possibly, I mean, these orbs you said that you have a more comforting feeling with, could possibly be something that is keeping the dark entities away?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I noticed that, and usually I don't fall so much towards religion. I'm kind of, I believe in science and religion. You know what I mean? Anything's possible.
Right.
I don't like to seclude myself to one area, and I'm a realist, but I did notice that just recently, my uncle, the Catholic priest I was speaking about before, because my son's been having all this different activity happening, he got him 2 children's Bibles, and he did blessings on them. And they're in my closet, because I have a large walk-in closet, so with a bunch of books, and they're in there. And I've noticed like a very warm, comfortable feeling, and that's when the orbs started showing up. So
You got some backup.
yeah, in a sense. And you know, I had some I had a cross blessed by him also, and I put it in my son's room just to ease him at night because it's all new for him. But when I was around the same age, that's when it all started happening for me too. So I try to let him know it's okay and don't be afraid. They're not here to hurt us.
So
They're just here to let us know.
You did mention that your mother had experiences, and then you have experiences, and now your son's having experiences. Is there a long family history of paranormal stuff happening throughout your generations of family?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with we'll have to discuss another time, but my mom's Rh negative factor on her blood type, and so is my grandpa. And so there's a lot of different alien activity and things that it seemed kind of like they've just gone throughout the family. Like they've hit certain people with certain blood types, certain things. Like my uncle, he would never be able to wear watches because the watches would always stop working. My grandpa was like that. And then as I was growing up, I have a whole box full of watches because every time I wear a watch, after a day, it stops working. So, I don't know. Something in the family.
So now, with people listening, maybe there could be some people out there that don't understand what the Rh negative blood type is. Could you give us a little bit of an explanation as to what that means?
A lot of times, if you're deep into UFO or alien so-called conspiracies, as they would call it, that is a universal donor. So she can only accept blood from someone that actually has the same blood type as her, but she can donate to anybody. And a lot of times when you start going back with the blood types, they had the two, which they said came from Europe or somewhere else. Some people say reptilians, and then, which is a whole nother category. And then the other blood type, which a lot of people have, I think it's 80% of the population, and it comes from the monkey. So
it's very rare.
Yes. It's 1% of the population has that blood type.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's 1 to 3%. So. Well,
it would make sense. A lot of the things that I listen to, which is anything that's strange and unusual, which I love. There's a lot of connections when it comes to anything ghost or paranormal related, and alien abductees, and just about anything you can think of that's really strange.
Yeah.
There's a lot connecting these paranormal things to anything to do with the Rh negative blood type people, and it just makes me believe that everything is connected somehow.
It definitely is, because even with the Rh negative, our family all have green or golden eyes. We all have extra vertebrae in our backs. We have low body temperatures. The actual body temperature for me is always 96.0, which they say, before they used to say that it was really bad, but so when I get sick, my temperature goes low instead of high.
Now, do you get sick a lot?
No.
No? So
no.
Getting sick is rare for you?
Very rare.
Okay. I get sick a lot, so I'm not Rh negative. That's amazing. Now, I know we're gonna probably get into these topics later on, but you did mention black helicopters and stuff like that. Do you think do you think a lot of that stuff could be due to the paranormal as well? Not just alien type entity things, but also paranormal?
No, I think that's completely two different things.
Yeah.
Because the house that I was on with 90 acres, and I would have the black helicopters come over, and I had them stop right over me in the middle of the night. I came out, and they were literally like 10 feet above my house and with a green light on me. I think that has to do a lot with the military, which my family has a long history of everyone being in the military. And I think that once you're in a military family, there's just certain things that they not sense watch out, but they're watching you. They're always watching you in every move you make.
Well, that's not right. You gotta have
Yeah.
some kind of privacy. You can't have privacy in this day and age at all with anything. You know, you're being watched. What you do on your phone, what you do on your computer. You know,
Absolutely.
like Google Earth can see your house. Is just like, my God, we're literally being watched in every angle that you can think of in your life. And
we have been for so long. It's been a long, I would say at least 50 years of them already doing this. So
and you're being
is when
watched,
they really started watching the public.
You're being watched in more than one way by living entities and entities from somewhere else.
Oh, definitely.
Where do you get a break?
Never.
That's horrible. So
All right.
let's get into.
I think you just get accustomed to it.
Yeah, it's like when you said that the big tall entity, you know, the 9-foot guy was standing there, and you said you kind of it just became the norm. You must go through so much in life to have something like that just be the norm. And that's not everybody can say that. There's people that I've talked to that have never experienced anything ever in their life that are just like, oh, ghosts are fake, aliens is dumb, and you're crazy. And this is, you know, I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago, very recently, and I said, you know, that's exactly why people like myself or people that have experienced any kind of strange thing that you can't really pinpoint what it is or explain it in any kind of way that sounds rational, don't come out and talk about these things.
Right.
You know?
And that's why I always call it so-called conspiracy theories, because in my eyes, it's not a theory, it's truth. And then if people always want to label you as a whack job because of it, and to me, they look crazy. Like, how can you not be awake and see that?
Right.
Like, it's right in front of your face.
Right.
There's symbols and everything and messages, and people are so lost that they can't even comprehend it. That's why, you know, people are sheep.
Yeah, I've seen sheep on many different levels and in many different ways and corners and just in all kinds of directions. And it's just, it blows my mind how I can honestly say that I have seen brainwashing at its best working. And it's scary to think that. It's scary to know that the human mind can be easily manipulated. And it really doesn't take much.
There's a lot of weak people out there.
Yeah.
That's maybe why certain people like myself have so many things happen to us to prepare us for whatever's to come. Like, I kind of feel like you can just take on anything. Like, I'm not afraid of anything.
I'm afraid of a lot of things. I've experienced so much in my life that, in all honesty, I feel like I've kind of turned towards your direction, where it's become a numbing agent. Where I'm not a lot of.
Or you're like, what's next? What's gonna happen next? Right. I'm just ready for it. Right. Like, what's gonna happen next?
But for me, it's different, because it's like the things that I've witnessed and I've experienced, I'm used to. I'm kind of like nonchalant with it. You know, it's just like, as far as it comes to what's next, yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm still really freaked out about that I hear about, and I don't know how I'm going to react to something like that.
A lot of it's happening right under people's eyes, and they don't even realize it too, especially with, you know, I mean, that's obviously for another day, but with, you know, the COVID and the shots and Bill Gates and technology, AI. It's like a whole nother category. That's another day.
Right. It is a very troublesome time, and it just leaves it open for like the big question mark. You know, what is this all leading to? What are we supposed to be preparing for? What, you know, it's just all these what ifs, and what do we do? And what do we do when it happens? Are we going to be prepared, or is everybody just going to be like, meh?
I think that a lot of it right now is with people being awake to being more heightened to 5D, like starseeds, light workers, empaths coming together and starting to really see what's happening and taking things to a whole new level of thinking and seeing the world and the solar system as something different than we ever saw before.
Well, there's definitely something happening, because there has been a very, since the pandemic hit, there has been multiple, just so many reports of UFO sightings. People are experiencing all kinds of paranormal activity going on in their home, outside the home, seeing entities in woods and seeing creatures, and it's just like, what is happening? Are we starting to see the merger of the realities? Is everything starting to combine? Are the frequency? I had a guest come on and explain to me what he thought about the realities, and he explained how he believes everything is on a frequency, and as I see it, with everything that's happening now, it's like the frequencies are just, it's almost like looking at one of those gauges that measures an earthquake. You know how the little pin goes up and down, up and down? It's almost like if every reality was that was vibrating at a certain frequency was just going up and down, there would be points where everything kind of touches. And it just seems like everything's touching a lot more rapidly and a lot more constantly, and that's when we're getting these leaks into our reality with something else, and people are experiencing UFO sightings and strange beings in woods, and it just seems like we're being bombarded by everything and anything that is unexplainable, and it's getting creepy out there.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that. I feel like I'm seeing things that weren't there, or it seems like glitches. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's just certain things where I would see a bird and it just seemed like he was just, the way he was circling just almost seemed like a glitch. Not like, some people would say that we're like in a simulation, but I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that we are in a simulation. I think for sure we are on planet Earth. I just think that the rest of the solar system is trying to interact with us, and so different beings are coming around and trying to open our eyes to different situations.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, getting into the whole universe trying to interact. I can see that being more of like the universe and all of us being connected to this consciousness. And the consciousness seems to be, I mean, there are a lot of people that are quote unquote woke or awakened and can see past all the veils, you know, and I believe that a lot of these veils are starting to be lifted, and that's what's going on. We're starting to experience a lot of things, and then there's the people that just absolutely don't want to believe it because, you know, oh, I thought I saw a ghost, but I don't want to believe that because I don't want that to be real, so I'm just gonna go ahead and be like, it was nothing. It was just my imagination. Right. I'm gonna put it off. I don't want to deal with that. I can't deal with that right now. I'm too busy to deal with that because life right now is a struggle enough, you know? Where do you have time to deal with something that is just far out there and unexplainable and unbelievable, and you can't talk to anybody about this kind of thing, you know?
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I've noticed myself with even my mom and a couple of my aunts that I thought I would never be able to speak to about any UFOs or aliens or any conspiracy theories at all, And they're coming to me with information now, and I'm like, I've been telling you guys for 20 years, and no one believed me, and now everyone's starting to like, oh, well, did you know about this? I'm like, yeah, definitely, all the different cover-ups. And so I do think people are becoming a lot more awake to the situation, or the ones that are not are just going to be lost, you know, and it's inevitable. Not everybody can be awake, I don't think. I think certain people are just placed for presence, you know,
Right.
because there's so many people that maybe they are just placed there to fill in a void, because I definitely cannot relate to a lot of people at all.
You know, and I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think that a lot of people are incapable of comprehending.
Yeah.
It's more like we've been conditioned since birth to believe certain things and follow certain rules, and yeah, it's easy for people to fall in line with those things, and not everybody can break away from that typical line of, you know, the straightforward, and this is how it is, you know. So I think that the people who are kind of breaking away and are waking up, I think it's kind of our responsibility to be there for those that can't. I don't think it's because they don't want to. I think it's because they can't. So when it comes time to deal with whatever is going to happen, it's going to be up to the ones that are awakened to kind of help the others that can't break away from the typical design that they're meant to follow. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I feel bad for people like that, because it's just like, you know, in their mind they believe 100% that what their belief is right, because they can't see outside that box. They were programmed since the beginning of their birth and their time in this reality to follow that, and they can't break away from it. And
yeah,
I honestly believe it's going to be the responsibility for those who can look outside the box, climb outside the box, and perceive outside the box, to be there for those that can't.
yeah. I guess I see your point. I guess I just see it as like only the strong survive, and I can't help everybody. So I guess I see things like a different way, where I'm just like, to me, a lot of people are just a lost cause.
Right. No, I get you. 100%.
Which is bad. It sounds terrible. It really does.
No, I
but
get you. You know, when you yourself, or anybody like yourself, or like even myself, that have experienced things and tried to tell people about it, and you're laughed at, and you're ridiculed, and you're made fun of, yeah, that can build up inside you to be like, you know what, man? When it comes time, you're on your own. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. I totally get it. I get where you're coming from. To each their own. Good luck.
Yep.
But I want to thank you for coming on. This was some amazing stuff you told us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, definitely we got to get back in touch, because I want to get into the extraterrestrial entity stuff. But if anything else paranormal happens, which I hope it does not, I hope you got some sort of help and control with your new place, and you know, I hope you got some good vibes going on, and I think that'll help a lot. Let's keep that, whatever negativity was trying to leak into your life, let's kick that to the side, and
definitely,
you know, hope for the best.
Thank you. I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. This was great. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you next time. I'll get a hold of you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you for listening, and make sure to get a hold of me if you've had any experiences you'd like to speak to me about. You can get a hold of me at EERIEParanormalTalk@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.